You know, the LSU football team is one of the programs in the SEC that for years engaged in a practice that isn't looked upon kindly by many other Division I schools and even by some within the SEC itself. While rules were never broken, some say they were manipulated.
Two terms you'll hear tonight with which you may not be all that familiar: oversigning and a byproduct of that process called gray shirting, and how it plays into what's called roster management in college football. Some say it gives LSU and others a competitive advantage. Running back Justin Vincent was a key cog in LSU's 2003 national championship run. As a freshman, he excelled for the Tigers. Vincent was named the starter in Week 6 after injuries to the Tigers' top two backs, and he took advantage of the opportunity, running for more than 100 yards in each of the Tigers' final 4 games, including a 201-yard performance in the SEC championship. For the season, Vincent ended up running for 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns.
What people saw was a scared freshman running real fast, you know, in a senior-laden offensive line that basically blew holes open. That was the size of an 18-wheeler.
But Vincent, because his grades were not in order, didn't start playing for LSU when he thought he would. He was gray-shirted, meaning he entered school in January rather than the previous fall with his recruiting class.
When you have your mindset and the way things happen for me, and I wasn't able to come in with my class originally, that I just kind of put the pedal to the metal and say, you know, this is what I really want, and I'm going to do whatever it takes, because I was just so upset the way things had went down.
Vincent feels like he got a jump start on the guys coming in the following fall. He started classes, went through spring ball, and ended up standing out as a freshman.
It was just having a leg up. Obviously, I didn't have to come to practice, and I had more time to study. I had to do workouts still, but it gave me an advantage being in the classroom, knowing what was expected, and still trying to maintain athletic kind of schedule, not necessarily practicing the whole 9, but I still had to go work out, go to study hall, and do the whole thing like that.
While gray shirting worked out well for Vincent, it doesn't always work out well for everyone. Houston Bates played high school ball at St. Paul's in Covington. He was offered a football scholarship by Les Miles to play at LSU, but then got caught up in a numbers game and was asked to gray shirt. Bates declined and left his LSU dream behind. Bates ended up enrolling at the University of Illinois in Champaign and has prospered there as a linebacker. Then there's Elliott Porter, a Shaw High School standout who was offered a scholarship to LSU, had it taken away, enrolled at Kentucky, then a year later re-enrolled at LSU. Both were victims of oversigning, when a coach offers more scholarships than he has available, then hopes the numbers take care of themselves by the time everyone enrolls and arrives on campus. Several schools in the SEC have oversigned players, including LSU. Others, like Florida and Georgia, have not. 2 new NCAA bylaws aim to control it. The first reads, in bowl subdivision football, there shall be an annual limit of 25 on the number of prospective student athletes who may sign a national letter of intent or an institutional offer of financial aid from December 1st through May 31st. The one right after it reads, a prospective student athlete who signs a national letter of intent or an institutional offer of financial aid and becomes an initial counter for the same academic year in which the signing occurred, also known as a mid-year enrollee, shall not count toward the annual limit on signings.
The theory is that through attrition or through people that get injured and can no longer play, that you could stay around that 85 number.
John Curtis High School head football coach J.T. Curtis, winner of 525 games and 25 state championships, has college coaches in his office frequently, and he's seen the oversigning process up close.
LSU has done a nice job trying to make sure that if they made a mistake on a player, then they accepted the responsibility as their mistake. And this running players off kind of thing really has not been a part of what they've done, or really the schools that I've dealt with in the SEC.
But it still boils down to making the numbers work. One way or another, schools have to hit that 85 scholarship number. Some players are academic casualties. Some leave. Some gray shirt. Some are granted medical hardships. In some corners, oversigning is seen as manipulating the system, a way for programs to stockpile players. Many contend oversigning has aided the SEC's 7-year national championship run. Last year, in an interview, the Associate Commissioner of the Big Ten said, I think if you look at it, you have to recognize that there is a competitive advantage issue there. It's just logical to think that if we're playing 5-card stud and I get 5 cards and you get dealt 8 cards, you're going to be in a better position. I think that's a pretty decent analogy. We haven't focused on the competitive impact, and frankly, we've been pleased that this issue has picked up speed as a topic of conversation nationally. The University of Florida, which is one of the SEC universities that does not oversign, condemns the practice of gray shirting, a byproduct of oversigning. In an open letter last year, Florida's president said, in part, these schools play roulette with the lives of talented young people. If they run out of scholarships, too bad. The letter of intent signed by the university the previous February is voided. Technically, it's legal to do this. Morally, it is reprehensible. And now the NCAA hopes its new rules will control it.
You cannot do that any longer. You can sign up to 25, depending on your 85 number, but no more than 25 at this year.
In essence, the NCAA is trying to level the playing field nationally and quell the criticism.
In other words, in the past, let's say you're down to those last 3 players, and they're the top players in the state or the top players in the region, so you mail them a scholarship. And if they sent that scholarship back to you and you were at 26 or 27, you found the way to manipulate the system to get those guys in your program. Well, you can no longer do that.
And that forces coaches to make tough decisions, like gray shirting a player.
You would take that scholarship and move it to the next year's number. And remember that that number is always manipulated by the 85 that you can have total. So it's one of those balancing acts that you have to be able to, as a coach, be sure that you're very, very careful with.
And for a guy like Justin Vincent, who is now a coach on the LSU staff, gray shirting put him on the right path. It helped him. But he can certainly see how some players don't want any part of it and would rather move on.
It's basically a choice. Could I have went to other schools? Definitely. But this is somewhere I want to be, so basically I'm telling you what I want. I'm willing to take that sacrifice. I'm willing to be embarrassed. I'm willing to take a step back and gather myself and come back and fight for what I really want instead of taking the high road and going somewhere else.
In the 2013 recruiting class, LSU signed 27 players, 21 of which count toward that limit of 25. 6 players were early enrollees.